right, 1 second. Okay, can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I know you can't really tell. We have our t-shirts on. I'll have to show you later, but this is part of the Rwandan culture. So Teach Rwanda, like I said, it was founded in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Janet Brown, she's our founder and president, and she's actually living in Rwanda with her husband. They live there about 10 to 11 months out of the year. They'll be home in August for a short visit.
So hello again, my name is Elena and I'm going to help Claire with this presentation. As she said, I'm the secretary and I'm going to share with you our mission and vision statement. This was something that Claire and I both really felt passionate about with the work that we do with education here in the US. So the mission of the Teach Rwanda organization is to enrich children's lives by establishing world-class early childhood and primary teacher education in Rwanda. And then the vision is building capacity to provide high-quality professional development to teachers of children in Rwanda. So what we both really like about this is, as being teachers ourselves, we were drawn towards the mission and vision of this organization because they're building capacity with teachers right in Rwanda so that they can then transfer and deliver the best practices and instruction to students in Rwanda. So we felt that that really drew us towards the organization by being able to also be teachers here and knowing, you know, the valuable instruction that we've been given through our college experience as well as professional development through the school district of Bethlehem. So this was a nice way for us to connect and really give the organization feedback from what we learn, and also watching Janet Brown, the founder, participate in teaching these teachers how to teach in Rwanda. And also our value proposition, we implement high quality, accessible education for Rwandan children by building the capacity of Rwandan teachers. So the goal of the organization is to create a group of teachers who have been educated through our best practices of the organization to then continue to teach other teachers in Rwanda so that hopefully it can be sustained within their country.
So I want to talk to you about why Bright School is exceptional. And I had the opportunity to actually witness this firsthand. Just a couple months being on Teach Rwanda's board, my husband and I flew back to Rwanda. I got to go to Bright School. Now, Bright School is our exemplary school in Rwanda. Teach Rwanda partners with, at the time, 2 other schools, but Bright School is kind of, we call it Teach Rwanda's baby. This is where our staff is centered at, and people in Rwanda actually travel to Bright School to observe there and to witness these best practices. When I got to Bright School, I'll never forget, I was so blown away. I was seeing children and teachers working together, like sitting on the floor, playing with blocks. The children were learning through play. The children were so engaged, loving learning, good relationships with the teachers. And I'm not sure if any of you know about typical Rwandan classrooms, but typical Rwandan classrooms have anywhere from 40 to 100 students that sit in rows. It's rote memorization. It's very outdated education practices. And if students ask a question or get something wrong, they're scolded, they're hit, they're made to feel humiliated, and typically they drop out before middle school. So I actually had a friend that I made in Rwanda my first time with Penn State. He traveled with my husband and I to kind of be our translator and work with us. And he, at the time, was, I think, 22. He saw Bright School and also told us how blown away he was by, he said, this is not usual that children are loving learning like this and having great relationships with their teachers. So I'm very proud that Teach Rwanda is involved with Bright School and that I was able to be there and witness what we do.
So this is just some general information on each step of the children's foundation of their education. So they start out as young as preschool, telling and illustrating their own stories. They're told stories, they practice acting out, learning through play. There's a fabulous library that's been implemented so that they can take books and read them from home. Something wonderful that we've done is over the years, each time that Jan and Bill, the founders of the organization, each time they come back to the US, lots of people offer to give them donations. So everything that is inside the schools is from the US. So children's books, crayons, chalk, any Legos, play, anything like that has been donated. So, I mean, it's nice to watch and look at some of their weekly updates and seeing all of the valuable resources that have been given to them. And what's fabulous is that by first grade, just like in the US, children are starting to learn how to read, they're starting to learn how to write. Simple letters followed by, their name and then forming sentences. And the primary school goes up to fourth grade. So once they get to fourth grade, they look to be an author of a book. So writing short sentences that come together as a story, could sometimes be a poem. Also, it's fabulous that they are able to speak in different languages. So obviously they're learning English through our school, but they're also able to speak in their own language. So practicing to be a public speaker at such a young age. And then as we move into just giving you a little bit of background, the teacher education program is made possible through the mentoring. So the teacher mentoring, our founder, Jan, developed this program through various modules that she teaches the teachers in Rwanda. So, I mean, it's all research, evidence-based practices, teaching the teachers the best practices from the US and implementing that into their learning. It usually takes 3 years, could sometimes take more or less to be, fully at that capacity of the teachers that Jan wants them to be. But it's a fabulous program that she's running for the mentoring of those teachers to be able to teach those children all of the things that we described.
And as Elena said, they are speaking different languages. Their primary home native language is Kinyarwanda, and that is what they primarily speak in the schools, but they are learning English, and some of them actually speak French as well. And at the teacher mentoring program, I also had the opportunity to witness that during my trip to Rwanda. It was really cool. The whole workshop, it's basically teacher workshops. The whole workshop is led in Kinyarwanda, and Jana is working with the Rwandan teachers to mentor them so that they are becoming leaders and they're learning best practices. Really, really cool to witness this in person, because the Rwandan teachers going through school all those years are so used to, again, sitting, memorizing, repeating. And this is training them that there's a different mindset. Learning through play is what we really strive for. Bright School is expanding, which is really exciting. Right now we have 2 new classrooms. We have a new outdoor learning area. And this is all made possible again through US funds. So we, the US side, are really, really working hard year round to try to seek large donors so that we can have sustainability and expand.
Yes, and as she said, we just listed some of the goals that we're constantly working towards, which is board expansion. Right now we have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and about 2 to 3 other board members. So, we're constantly looking to expand, find people who share our passion for education, specifically promoting early childhood education and the teacher mentoring process. We're always looking for fundraising opportunities. Obviously, as Claire mentioned, looking for large scale donors and also just networking within the Lehigh Valley. So as Claire mentioned, both of us are born and raised in the Lehigh Valley. So it's nice to just see all of the people within your backyard who are there to help you or who may share, a common best practice or something that, has them connected to this organization. So those are just some of the goals that we continue here in the US.
So I just wanted to briefly touch on this. 2020, right before the pandemic hit, we had this grand 10-day tour ready to go. And then it got put on hold because of COVID. Just wanted to put that out there. If anyone's interested in going to Rwanda in the future, it is a beautiful country. It's known as the land of 1,000 hills. The landscape is absolutely gorgeous. But the we do plan on running it again in 2022. So
Fingers
reach
crossed.
out to us if you're interested, but it will be a tour of the country, including African safari, visiting lakes, and then being in the classroom with the children.
This is just a brief overview of what the itinerary was going to be last year. So we're hoping to, make it look very similar to that. And our founder did a really nice job of selecting some historical features as well as going to the schools to just, give everyone the full experience of what they have to offer.
And before we end, we just wanted to again share with you we have a Facebook page and Instagram. If you're on Instagram, our Facebook and Instagram page is constantly being updated with pictures and videos of the children at work and play in the classroom. And it's really exciting to read these personal stories of children that come from extreme poverties in their families and how they're thriving and loving learning in the classroom. So follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and then you'll be able to kind of build connections and relationships with the children through the virtual social media. So I think we hit our time frame.
If we went over the time.
We could keep going on and on about it, but I know we have a short time frame. So hopefully we'll answer some of your questions through our presentation or our Q&A session.
Yeah, I have a quick question, and I know Raja has one that I saw, but I wanted to ask, can you give us an example of some of your evidence-based teaching strategies?
Sure, let me see if I can go back to that slide. You guys can still see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I think you were saying about the Montessori school. I would explain it as pretty similar in nature and foundation to that. The evidence-based, so Janet Brown, our founder, she's been in education for over 50 years. And I would explain it kind of similar to the Montessori, or I don't know if you've heard of the Goddard School. The Goddard School is pretty similar in nature to that. Learning through play is what we are really striving for. And Janet is taking what she's learned through her 50 years of education and implementing it through these modules. And she actually, we were talking recently to her about how her modules could be published so that they could be shared internationally, actually, so that it could be implemented worldwide, her programs that she's created. As far as like specific evidence-based, I could definitely follow up with you on that, because I know Jan probably has an abundance of information that she could share on that. So I would love to follow up with more information on that for you. But they are workshops that she's created and that she's implemented, and now Janet does receive like a small portion of pay for those workshops, but most of them, I would say, have been a lot of volunteer hours for her.
And I believe that Raja was asking, what are the three challenges that you are presently facing today?
So I would definitely, you can chime in then. I would definitely say the biggest challenge that we're facing today is that the Rwandan government basically tells us, their basic says you need to have 2 new classrooms built by September,
or you can't
function. Yeah, basically they are dictating what needs to happen, but they give absolutely no assistance. So our biggest challenge is trying to financially sustain our organization. Sorry about that. Are you still seeing our screen or no?
No.
Yeah, we are still seeing you, but I just stopped your sharing, so.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, I thought we did something wrong. Oh my goodness, sorry.
Thank you. So financially, trying to find large scale donors has been the #1 challenge. The second challenge I would say would be board expansion. Finding the the necessary skills that are needed to complete the task that we need. Now, most of our board is volunteers, people who have full-time jobs and families. So a lot of the big tasks that need to be completed require almost someone working at it full time. So growing our board would be the second one.
And I would say probably future leadership. So just to give you a background, Jan and Bill are reaching beyond ages of retirement, but they just love education so passionately that they keep hanging on. But they have mentioned to us that they're really looking for someone to take over once they decide that, they can no longer be the founders of the organization. So future leadership is definitely a challenge, because I think that they're so passionate about this that they really want to make sure that whoever they give the reins over to is willing to take on everything that this organization has to offer. So, I mean, that can be a challenge, but also something exciting as you look for future leadership. But I know that that's definitely a challenge right now, is finding someone to be able to take over when and if they decide that their time has come.
Yeah, Jan and Bill, they, like I mentioned before, they've been living in Rwanda 10 to 11 months out of the year. And they have families here in Pennsylvania. And like as Elena said, they're getting up there in age. So they are trying to mentor Rwandans to take over. But their mentality over there is that, everyone here in the United States has all the information and knowledge, and that they are not sufficient enough. So we're trying to mentor them to adopt a different mindset, that they are capable of it.
Just one question in the chat that I think that we could answer is what happens to them once they leave the school. So for instance, after they get to the age of elementary and then on to secondary.
That's a very good question, and something that actually came up at our last board meeting that we were talking about. We're getting a lot of push over there for to open a secondary school, because parents in the community are witnessing what's happening in Bright School, and they're so amazed by it that they want us to continue with secondary school, because a lot of them, unfortunately, will be placed into a large public school with rote memorization, and they become disengaged and drop out. So right now, unfortunately, we don't have the funds to open a similar school, but there are other similar schools in Rwanda, but the fees are very expensive. And with a country of extreme poverty, a lot of them can't afford it. So unfortunately, a lot of them will be placed into a public school.
The question about what are the responsibilities for a board member? We would love for other early childhood teachers to be part of the board. Both of us are educators within the Lehigh Valley, but it would be fabulous to have other educators as well as anyone else who looks to share our same passion. But there's no specific requirement. In fact, we want our board to be, a wide variety of people with various different backgrounds and skills and talents. And hopefully, inquiring new board members will help us to build further connections and be able to, learn from whoever those new people would be.
Yeah, we're actually really looking for someone that has like a background in accounting, because our treasurer, she was a Lehigh intern, just moved back to China. So she's going to be transitioning out. We're looking for a new treasurer, but anyone with business background would help us a lot. Requirements, we just have a once a month board meeting that we have to attend, and
those have been virtual the past year and change, let's say.
Dave,
I don't know if you can see the chat, but I think we covered all the chat questions. But Nate Carpenter has his hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Hey, yeah, thanks very much, and apologies. I don't have my video on. I'm on mobile right now. Really appreciated the talk this morning. I have a couple questions. One is it seems that you're operating in a space that is you're sort of navigating two really challenging histories. So one, you sort of alluded to, you're operating in a country that has a sort of demonstrated undemocratic and repressive government under Kagame. And so, but you're also operating in a development space that has a pretty long and dark history. Rwanda, as sub-Saharan Africa, the global South in general, is dotted with development schools that have not been sustainable. And that history goes back to histories of colonialism. And that's a pretty dark history, especially in East Africa and Rwanda. So my first question is, how are you navigating this kind of like territory where you're both dealing with a repressive government and also this kind of like darker history of development? And then my second question is related to I'm just curious on like sustainability, like what is the vision? So is there, do you want to kind of continue to operate at this sort of like important and certainly the sort of scale where you're having a sort of small but demonstrated impact, or are you looking to expand? And what are the challenges for sustainability besides funding? I'm thinking about your comment about the Kagame government saying, you need to build these or you're out. That seems to me a major challenge. So how do you deal with it?
Good questions. I'll tackle the first one first. So about dealing with the history and what education seems to be like there. So we have a really passionate team over there. So Janet is a dreamer. She has her mind set on something and there's nothing stopping her. She is taking her 50 years of experience in education, and that's what's really pushing her through with her dreams. Now, I got to witness when I was over there in Rwanda twice about the dark history, what you said, they have the background with the 94 genocide, and a lot of the teachers now were children during that time. So Jan and Bill spent enough time in Rwanda that they're able to navigate with all of the training that they've had to navigate how to approach the teachers on certain topics and how to build resilience in them. As far as the Rwandan government, that seems to be the biggest challenge. And it's frustrating for here in the US side when at board meetings we're like, well, then why don't you just go to the government and ask them this? And then their response is always, well, that's kind of our roadblock right now. So what we're trying to do is build partnerships nationwide or internationally as well. And a lot of our partnerships has helped with sustainability as well. It's been helping us keep going. Actually, we've had many partnerships in Rwanda that Jan's been able to kind of take our mission and vision and take it and show it to a bunch of people in Rwanda. So she actually partnered with a couple teacher colleges in Rwanda and has been able to show them what we've done and our best practices. So it's kind of to answer your question about if we want to keep it small or build, we do want to build and have this best practices model move forward. And that's why we're trying to build as many partnerships as we can. Did you want to add on?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that we don't want to go bigger, but I think that like you mentioned, funding is not allowing us to just up and build 5 more schools just like the one that we have. So of course we do want to sustain the one that we have, but I think that part of Jan's mission is that she's hoping that by training these teachers with these best practices, that even if they don't go build their own school, that they at least have the foundation of what teaching is supposed to look like. So that hopefully, I think part of her vision is to just put like pockets of these best practice of teaching around, so that, she can touch one life, maybe touch a few more, but not in the large scale of having that many schools. We would love to have it be happening all around. But I think that, her vision is if you start with one, it will kind of spread through. And also one of the biggest things that I see our organization is we truly are passionate with our faith as well. So a lot of times when we're like getting down to the, let's call it the nitty gritty of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? It's kind of a miracle where we get to that point of our very lowest, and then we realize that someone just donated a vast amount of money, let's say, that then helps us. So I know that Jan really values the fact that other people in the world share her faith of just believing and knowing that good will come when you least expect it, because that has helped us as well. With people just being generous at the time when they never knew we needed it the most. And I think that that truly speaks to what we're doing as well.
So where does the money go to when you receive fundings? Does it go to teachers? Do you own the land, workers, a building? Where does the funds go?
Good question. So we have a couple of different accounts set up. One is designated for Fund of Future, which is our scholarship program. Now the Fund of Future, it's tuition assistance. So we have a couple families that qualify that are live in extreme poverty. That scholarship program helps pay the tuition fees, the uniform, the transportation for those students. We also have our funds helping pay daily operations. The daily operations include the porridge that we feed to the children, which for many children, that porridge, that one meal of porridge that we feed is the only meal that they eat that whole day. It also pays for supplies that the teachers are using in the classroom. We also have another fund that is paying for the teachers' salaries, which if you heard the teacher salaries that they're living on, it's unbelievable. We have another fund that's paying for the Rwandan staff, and then finally paying for the operation of the building as well. I'm sorry, what was the second part?
About the land.
Oh, the land. We do own the land. So that was part of a grant that we received from another partnership that Jan built over there in Rwanda. So,
and that was quite the process.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot over here of how purchasing land is not exactly as simple as it is in the US. So as young teachers on this board, we really learned quite a lot about how purchasing of land is done over in Rwanda, but we do now own the land, which is wonderful.
And the Rwandan government recently just said that we need to have 2 more P6 classes open by September, so 6th grade classrooms. So that, you know, we came into the situation of we need to build and expand. So Jan found another plot of land, which we purchased, and that we're starting construction on, but that was not possible without funding. So we're constantly trying to build networking opportunities and find large scale donors. Did I mention at the transportation that we own, we actually bought a bus. So we paid for the bus, and then the bus for the transportation costs for the students as well.
Do you have any fundraising events coming up locally?
Good question.
So many of them have been unfortunately pushed back due to the pandemic. So we're hoping that, you know, as we're seeing things start to open up, we're hopeful that we can build back up some of those opportunities. So there's none in the current
we have
future,
an online gala that's about to begin. We're in our fundraising committee, has a few people on it, and we're working on 32 auction. It's an online auction site. So Jan and Bill bring back to the US a lot of locally handcrafted Rwandan artifacts and, you know, handcrafted animals and fabrics and bags, wonderful, wonderful stuff, coffee. And we usually have local fundraisers at schools, churches.
Like set up tables and
yeah, we have
speak
like
to people.
Craft tables with presentations. We won't have any until August when Jan returns with more crafts, because I call it our traveling showcase. Our traveling showcase has been dwindling down over the past couple of years. But we will have an online auction site soon. We just recently did an online craft sale 2 weeks ago. But as Elena said, because of COVID, most of our fundraisers are online right now, but we hope to be having a couple more. We've had concerts in the past. We've had
African drum circles.
Yeah, drum circles, yoga meditation circles, you name it, all different unique kinds of fundraisers.
Well, keep us posted on fundraisers.
Absolutely.
And I know that Murtasa has his hand up, so go ahead.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Elena, first of all, thank you so much for all the good work you're doing. I myself am from Tanzania, which is the neighboring country to Rwanda.
Wow.
And my question is your nonprofit connected to any global network that supports nonprofits, organizations like the Rotary clubs in the area?
Oh. Go ahead. Do you want to say?
Yeah, so Janet Brown, our founder, she and her husband Bill actually just did a presentation yesterday with Rotary Club through Zoom. But yes, to answer your question, we are connected with several Rotary clubs throughout internationally as well.
Wonderful. I'd love to invite you to our local club here, the Rotary Club of Allentown
wonderful.
West, simply because we've done a similar project to what you're doing in Sierra Leone. We supported a nonprofit called Engineers Without Borders that
Wow.
helped build a school in Sierra Leone. So maybe it might be beneficial for me to connect you not only with Rotary, but also Engineers Without Borders. And we've also done projects in my home country where we provided mosquito nets in Tanzania,
Wonderful.
East Africa. And knowing the fact that, Rotary has a global connection where we could do some of the fundraising efforts here and do the work through some of the clubs there that'll support your nonprofits could be a huge benefit to you. So I'd love to connect with you.
I would love that.
That
Thank
would
you
be
so
wonderful.
much. That's wonderful.
We'll put the email in the chat for you.
Okay,
Does that help?
I'll put my email as well.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Tony, Raj has a question too, unless Murtaza's not complete.
I would say let's open it up. If you have a question, just unmute your speaker. Jeff, I know your hand is up too.
Oh, did we miss
Jeff, do you want to go first?
You go, Raja.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Raja.
Claire and Elena, thank you for the presentation. So one thing, I'm just going to piggyback on what just Nate Carpenter said earlier when he was asking about, the challenges that Rwanda has from political challenge to economic challenge, and doing business there as a nonprofit. I can understand it's not an easy process, and I also come from a developing country, so I can certainly understand that the challenge that you're going through. One thing that you did mention in your presentation was you are looking to recruit some additional members to your board.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important part of the process, and I would really think through that and identify, what type of individuals do you really need? Are you really looking for folks that can, help you, manage the operation or manage the, your nonprofit on a day-to-day or a month-to-month basis? Or are you really looking for someone that has got some juice and that can open some doors for you? And both from the policy side and also from from strategy side. So those are two different, I think, two different distinctions. And so my recommendation to you would be, probably identify the type of individual that you are needing and create some job descriptions as far as what your expectations are. Because I think as a nonprofit, you should not be afraid to have people on your board, that has got some, that can help you strategically to achieve the goals that you want to do, right? Either they come from a policy side, or either they come from the financing side, or a number of different areas. So my recommendation would be really spend some time, putting together a list of what you're looking for, and then put a job description behind it as far as what the expectation of this individuals would be, and then start looking at who are some of the folks that you want to approach in that regard. So you may already be doing that. If you're doing that, that's great. But that's something that I would certainly spend some time on, because that can help you long-term wise. You guys understand what kind of challenges you're facing, and I think that you also know what type of individuals can really help you. So my recommendation would be to, rather than focusing on folks that can help you on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis, I would really look at individuals that can help you strategically achieve your goals over a 3 to 5 year period. So keep that in mind.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We actually just had a board strategic planning workshop a month ago. We all met on Zoom, and that was one of the things that we broke into committees to do. We came up with a list of what skills we thought we were seeking for board expansion, and we created job descriptions for them. So your advice is right on point. That's exactly what we needed to do so that we can have sustainability for our future. We are looking for specific skills. So you're exactly right. Thank you so much.
Jeff?
Hey, thank you both for your presentation and your passion towards helping others. I had a quick question for you about, well, we know how much the pandemic had impacted the education system, particularly here. You guys are both teachers in the Bethlehem School District, and how you've had to transition to online learning and, this type of education. Has that been a challenge in Rwanda as well? Has the pandemic touched that area and impacted that infrastructure as much as it's touched here in terms of teaching, how you teach, methods and things along that line? Just curious about that.
Yeah, if not more than
Yeah,
it's done here. It did quite a number on education there. So they actually were having education taught over the radio.
Yeah.
And not everyone has access to the radio in Rwanda. And how effective is that to be learning mathematics and reading over the radio? So one of the things I was so proud of that Teach Rwanda did was set up mobile libraries. And Jan ran these mobile libraries with all of our books. And, the students would have to sit 6 feet apart, masks on, but the teachers were able to meet outside and in the grounds of the school and read to the children. So they were still getting the literacy skills in a safe way, the mobile library. And then we also allowed the children to take the books home, which was really cool. It definitely did a number. Schools were shut down for, oh my goodness, how many months? It was way longer than it was here. But Teach Rwanda actually continued the salaries for the teachers. That's one thing. Another thing I'm really proud of, a lot of schools in Rwanda, a lot of teachers got laid off, unfortunately. Schools were shut down for so long, teachers were going without pay, but we continue to pay our teachers' salaries. But it definitely affected education over there. And the teachers had to find ways to catch up almost and teach what all the skills that were lost over that time. But through Jan's experience and passion, they were able to navigate through those challenges. The mobile library was awesome though. Sorry, did you want to add on to that?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, we're very fortunate here in the US to just kind of jump with such short notice to make our classrooms virtual, and the technology that we have to use is phenomenal. We're both, I would say, pretty savvy with the technology, but there was so much more that we learned over this time of the pandemic while we went fully virtual to more of a hybrid model. And then with hopes of back to the normal school setting for the year to come. But even just thinking about it over there, they don't have that, our students in the Bethlehem School District are so fortunate to have one-to-one devices and, lots of Google platforms and things for them to use. So even just that one small mobile library was just so fabulous to have over there, because they unfortunately don't have some of the technology that we have here.
Oh, and food delivery, I forgot about that. So we also use some of our donations to purchase food for families in need. A lot of families, they lost their jobs in Rwanda and were struggling basically to survive. So some of the teachers and staff through Teach Rwanda were working with Jan and Bill to deliver food to families.
Which was a little off the course of our vision mission, but we felt that since our vision and mission is to educate the whole child, we were okay with the fact that they need to be fed so that they can learn. So we definitely had a discussion about that, and really heartfelt discussion as to allowing for funds to be navigated in that way.
Well, it just makes you realize, how even though there were, even here on the south side, there were families that didn't have internet, but then there were programs that chipped in to give them 6 months free internet.
Yes.
But it makes you realize how fortunate we are, and how other parts of the world, underdeveloped countries are in such great need. Have you contacted, in terms of fundraisings, large corporations like Crayola or anything like that for funding?
Yeah, so Jan actually, I don't know if I mentioned this, she actually worked with Crayola for, I think over a decade. So we have reached out to large corporations and are continuing to reach out to them for donations as well.
Great.
But if you guys have any other ones that you can think of, we were happy to add that to our list.
Absolutely.
Networking is so powerful. So I was, the way I came across 1 Million Cups was from Audrey, I don't remember her last name. She works at Northampton Community College.
Audrey Chase.
Yeah, so I met with, she's part of the Garrigan Foundation. She's on their board. I had a meeting with the Garrigan Foundation in Southside Bethlehem to talk about Teach Rwanda. Dr. Garrigan was one of my graduate professors at Lehigh University. So she told me about 1 Million Cups. So I'm really thankful for that connection there. But if anyone has any other connections, we'll add them to our list.
We would definitely keep you on our minds for that. And then Somo has a question.
It's just I have a similar project in Myanmar. Just want to share with my knowledge and experience, and see how that can apply to Rwanda. So my project is in the teaching STEM in Myanmar. I set it by myself, so it's been like 7 years. But unfortunately, pandemic and the current political situation have impact on the project. So I would like to share my knowledge and experience with you guys.
Thank you so much. We just wrote down your email address. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we can meet sometime,
That would be wonderful. Yeah, we'll send you emails after this presentation.
And are you locally as well in the Bethlehem area or in Lehigh Valley?
I'm in the center. I live in Center Valley, but I am faculty in the NCC. So
perfect.
Great.
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes to wrap it up with announcements. Once again, thank you so much for presenting. Is one last time, any other questions before we wrap it up? All right, thank you so much. Please keep us informed about the fundraiser event that you're going to have virtually. I think many of us would be interested in helping you out with that.
Thank you. And who can we share that information with about the upcoming events?
You could
and we'd love to share the progress video as well. I know.
Oh yeah, sorry, we saw that in the chat.
About the progress video. I'd love to share that as well. So whom would be the best contact person to share that
Raja,
with?
can she send that to Julia, or you can send it to me as well, and I could share it out.
Send it to who?
To Julia.
Yeah. So here's what you can do. Why don't you go ahead and send that video to Tony, Claire, and we'll be happy to we'll be happy to share that internally here. And if you want us to, so another thing that we can also do is, you said that you've got a video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you send that video link, we send out our 1 Million Cup notification every week.
Perfect.
Great.
We can also include that, link in a couple of our mailers. So that might also be helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, and now to announcements. Do we have any announcements of upcoming events?
I don't know if Pete's on the call, but so I'll make an announcement. Since he's the host, there's a Friends of Pete this Thursday starting at 4:00 at Venture X. And the reason I bring that up is next week on the 30th, our presenter is going to be Venture X. So you can get a bird's eye view on Thursday or tomorrow, and then hear all about it on next Wednesday. So Pete, I don't know if there's anything else.
No, thanks, Dave. It's good. Just, spread the word to everybody. I'm having video issues this morning, but spread the word if you guys would. Everybody's welcome. Again, 4:00 tomorrow, Venture X, 306 South New Street in Bethlehem, and you can come. We'll probably be there until 7:30. So you can come for 15 minutes at 4:00 or 15 minutes at 7:00 or stay for 3.5 hours. So please join us. Spread the word. Thanks.
Pete, do you have the ability to put the link for the, or do you have to pre-register?
This is the rare time where you are supposed to pre-register. I've been texting the link to everybody. I thought it was posted in the LinkedIn group, but my contact information is in the chat. If you don't have it, anybody on the call can text me and I'll send it to you right away.
Okay.
All right then. Last call for announcements. Gary, you don't have anything? Okay. All right. Are you staying on, David, to have further discussions after?
I'll be glad to stay on if anybody wants to. I'm going to put in the link for the LinkedIn for the Friends of Pete. Hopefully that has the Eventbrite or whatever you can register.
Okie dokie. If you'd like to stay on the call just to network or continue your conversations on Rwanda Teach, please do so. For the rest of you, have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for attending.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present. It was nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Julia, I'm going to make you the co-host here for the networking session.